Start. All right, cool. All right, what's up, y'all? For those who don't know, I'm Affine. I just do random hacker stuff. And today we're going to be talking about not that much hacker stuff, mostly about Linux, because we're talking about Arch Linux. Uh, for those of you who are watching the recording, hello. Sorry you couldn't join us. Thanks for stopping by, though. Appreciate it. For those of you here, thanks for spending time. I appreciate you guys for showing up to this little thing. So for those of you who don't really know like what Arch Linux is or really like why people like it, there's a few reasons. I am by no means an expert on this operating system. I probably am one of the not expert users of it per se. Of like most people who approach Arch Linux are very much power users, and they'll try to optimize literally everything that they possibly can to get the best possible use out of it. So that's not me, but I still like a lot of the things the platform has. It's a rolling distribution, which means it gets constantly updated, just like anything like Kali or Parrot. So you get all the latest tools. One issue that people bring up a lot is does like Arch break often when that happens, and I've in all the time that I've had Arch installed, which I've had it on and off for like I would say putting the time together that I've used Arch Linux, I've been using it for probably about a year or so. I've never had the system break on me, and I literally just run updates and just automatically update stuff, and I have no issues. And usually, if something does break it, Arch is pretty good about putting out a message like, "Yo, this thing is broken. If you did update, here's how to fix it, like revert or change the setting or whatever it may be." So they're pretty helpful in that way. Arch is also, if you've probably seen Arch Linux and been kind of scared off from the install process, yes, it's got a very bare bones install process. That's because Arch wants you to kind of build your own dream Linux system the way that you want to build it. Whether you're doing that for optimization purposes, if you want the minimal amount of packages installed that run at boot time so you can speed up your boot by however much, or maybe you don't want to have so many processes running in the background that comes with the default install. So depending on how you approach it, you can get a lot of value out of that. But for me, it's just generally awesome because I can go, you know what? I want this desktop environment with this other thing that, maybe if I were to install another operating system like Ubuntu or KDE Neon or Linux Mint, in those distributions, I might not be able to put whatever two things I want to use together because maybe it's not available in that system, or maybe there's some sort of incompatibility that Arch users have found a workaround to. So that's kind of a very raggedly explained part of why I like Arch Linux and why it's useful. But there is a security twist to this. Don't worry, we're not strictly doing Linux. There is an awesome kind of offshoot of Arch Linux called Black Arch, which is a pen testing platform. It's got a ton of packages, and even though we're going through the standard Arch Linux install process, we're actually going to add Black Arch repositories into it because the nice thing about Arch is you can kind of build it into whatever you want, and all we need to do to make Arch Black Arch is we just need to add the repos. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. So we're gonna get started. If you guys want to follow along a little bit and kind of get an idea of some of the things I'm doing, you can check out this link here. This is the official Arch Linux install guide, which makes installing Arch a heck of a lot easier. However, it's not perfect. There are some parts of it that the guide assumes that you know how to do. For example, setting up a bootloader or setting up a desktop environment. Um, those things aren't really explained there. And this comes in with part of the issue of what makes Arch Linux seemingly quote unquote hard to install. It's more so the fact that if you're not really experienced with Linux and you have a lot of issues, uh, or if you have issues with your install, rather, if you have issues with your install, then it's going to be really tough when those issues come up. For example, in the test run that we did, about a week ago, I think, I spent about an hour trying to get networking back up because I totally forgot to install the networking package that you need for Linux. So it wouldn't automatically, like, I didn't have DHCP wasn't enabled. I didn't have any way to get routes. I had to manually command line add all of that information. when normally it would just be, oh, I install this package during the installation process and then I don't really care. So it's little things like that that make Arch a little more complicated. But I think if you have this guide and you have like a video to reference, or in this case, you have this actual talk with me, kind of referencing issues that you might come across, or all of these little details that maybe the guide doesn't specifically tell you to do, the Arch install process is relatively painless. It's just a bit longer. And again, if you have issues with troubleshooting, it's hard if you don't have much Linux experience. But if you do, or if you have someone who you can reach out to who can help you, then it's really not all that bad. So we're going to get started. Also, if anyone has any questions at any point along the way, please feel free to stop me. Please feel free to come off mute and ask. Just FYI as well for people who joined late, this is being recorded, so just so you're aware. So I'm using VirtualBox as far as a virtualization platform. I've just used VirtualBox for forever. I like it a lot more than VMware. So if you're using VMware for this, sorry, I might not be able to help with VMware specific issues. But I'm sure there's plenty of people you can reference out there, whether it's a video or a thread about something specific to VMware that you want to get to work. So we're going to start off with making a new one. I'm going to call this Arch, ROH. I'll save it in, I'm going to put it in my hard drive, my big hard drive directory. Let's go to VirtualBox VMs and we'll open that. Set that up and you can see VirtualBox figured out that I'm probably using Arch Linux. That is in fact correct. We'll go next. As far as RAM size, you could probably get away with using 2488. I'm just going to go with 4096 just because, but 2048 should be fine. So we'll hit next from there, and then we'll create a virtual hard disk. You can either do the dynamic size or the static size. I'm just going to do a fixed size, and I'll probably do, just for safety, we'll probably do around 25. Now, I will say at this step, if you are planning to install the entirety of Black Arch by the end of this, which is almost 2,800 packages, you're going to need like probably 30 gigabytes. But
Excuse me.
yeah. What's sure.
If you're using VMware, it doesn't have an Arch option. You have to do other Linux 5.x and later kernel 64-bit.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That is also an option in VirtualBox, which I think you can do if you have a really weird Linux. But yes, VMware just picks something that's as closely related to Arch Linux as possible. So we're going to create this with the 25 gigabyte. Hopefully this doesn't take that long. It's on my hard drive. Cool. The Arch ISO. Hopefully you guys all downloaded the Arch ISO beforehand. If not, here is a download link for all of you to use. Just go check Hacker Streams 1. There's the download link. That's get the torrent or just get the normal one. It's a pretty small package. I think it's a couple hundred megabytes. Not all that bad. So we're just gonna go in here. Also, don't forget to change your CPU core count. I usually just up mine to like 2. That should be fine. We don't need to enable PAE NX or any of the nested stuff or acceleration. So we're just going to go into, where is it? Storage. Going to click on this empty IDE controller with the little disk. Click on the little disk next to it. And we're going to pick, mine already shows up here, but if you didn't find one, if yours doesn't automatically show up, just go to choose a disk file, and then it'll pop up a folder prompt, and I'm just going to pick Arch Linux ISO, and we'll hit OK. So I'll wait. We'll give you guys a minute to get that done. Let it download. And you should be fine as well using your NAT networks. As long as you have something that can connect to the internet, that is one thing about Arch. You do need internet connectivity in order for the install process to work. There's no way that it will really work otherwise because it downloads a lot of stuff from the internet. I'll also mention that this process is, when we're doing in VirtualBox, is assuming that you can that you don't have another operating system, and it's very standard non-UEFI secure boot kind of stuff. You can definitely install Arch in those situations. This machine that you're actually seeing right now, my main desktop, is actually running Arch itself. And I have it dual booted with a Windows instance, and I'm on a UEFI based BIOS. So you can definitely do it. If you're interested and you're in this call, feel free to DM me afterwards with some questions. There's a couple extra steps, but it's not overly complicated. It's just a bit annoying to do. Pretty much all it is download an extra package that will find another operating system. Then you have to mount your other operating system Windows, find a specific file, copy it in to your Arch one, and then that operating system finder tool, which is called OS Prober, will basically discover it, see which drive it's associated with, and then it will boot off that. So not that complicated, but just a little bit of extra stuff you have to do. All right, I'm going to assume that everyone is good to go. I'll try to keep it slow at the start, so in case people are still having issues getting everything downloaded, we'll wait for that. But let's get started here and boot this up. So I get prompted asking me which ISO I want the Arch Linux one. Here, we'll start it. I will try my best to zoom in. I know the screen is really freaking small. Um, Actually, I'm gonna try to go into scaled mode. Yeah, it's gonna look really bad, but whatever. Can you guys see that all right? Does that look good?
Yep.
Awesome. Let's go up here. Boom. So we are in Arch Linux, and this is the scary part that a lot of people don't like because you just get dropped into a shell. It's like, all right, figure it the hell out. So we're gonna figure it out because it's really not that bad. So the first step in the Arch Linux guide that I usually check is to make sure that we have internet access. So I'm just gonna go with IP space A, just to check my IP address. I've got an IP. That all looks good. And in their example here, they have ping archlinux.org. So we'll ping archlinux.org, and we can get out to Arch Linux. Awesome, no issues at all. So we got internet connectivity. That's really important. The next command that we're going to do is time date ctl, that's all one word, set-ntp true. And basically all that's going to do is enable the network time protocol so we can get some proper time. And now we get into the fun part. We get to set up our hard disks and format our hard disks that we have to get them ready for install. So in the Arch Linux guys, you'll see that they're using fdisk. I like to use a tool called cfdisk. It's a bit more user-friendly from a UI perspective, so we're just going to run cfdisk, and there's a particular disk we're going to run it on. So before we do that, let's actually do lsblk, which is to list block devices. And we can see that my device is just called SDA. So we know that that's the drive we're going to be working with. So I'm going to do cfdisk /dev/SDA. This is the file path that will get you to that specific block device. So we'll run it against that. And then we have an option here to pick either GPT, DOS, SGI, or Sun. In this case, we want to pick DOS to work. This was one of the things that I messed up in the little run through that I had last week. I picked GPT, and that doesn't really work in the particular setup that we're going with. So we're going to go with DOS in this case. So we'll pick DOS. Just press enter on that. Ooh, come on. There we go. All right. So we've got our system. We got a bunch of free space. And we're going to turn it into our actual boot space. So all we're going to do is hit new. We're going to press enter on that, and you'll have a partition size option. In this case, I want to take up the whole partition. So we'll press enter on the 25G. That's fine. Primary extended, we want to pick primary, pick primary. And then we've got it set up, and you'll see now that we've got dev SDA 1 instead of free space, and we got the start, the end, the sector, size, and the ID type should be ID83 type Linux. The other thing we want to set, very important, is you want to move over to this bootable flag, and you want to hit enter at that. And now you should see under that boot title, there is a little asterisk, which means that that device is bootable. So the system knows that this is where we have to boot from. This is where the operating system is located at. Now, if you were doing a real install, or maybe you wanted to add more RAM to the system, you wouldn't have taken up all that much size, and you would have added some swap, which if you're not familiar with swap is, it's in a very general sense, without getting too much into it, it's just kind of RAM that is stored on your hard drive. And this can be really good if you like using the suspend option or hibernate option, because that puts your system into a very low power mode, and sometimes you need a lot of space and maybe you don't have that much RAM to store all of the processes that are running in that space. So you add swap so you have that much space. So you can think of, actually, sorry, you need that space, sorry, to move the RAM to the disk. So generally the recommendation is like, and this could be outdated, but from what I've heard, my experience is just do your RAM size plus like 1 or 2 GB usually. So like my main system is 16. If I wanted proper swap, I'd probably want like 18 or something like that. But we're not going to worry too much about that. Just something I wanted to bring up. So you guys should have the boot flag set. We should have our space all set to go, and all we're going to hit is write here, and then it's going to ask you if you want to write the partition to the table. We're just going to type in yes and hit enter. And then we will quit out, and then we're good to go. So next step we're going to run to is we got to change the file system type, because currently there's no specific file system type. So we're going to run the following command. We're going to run mkfs.ext4, and we're going to do /dev sda, and we're going to run it just on this. So we'll go dev sda. Actually, wait, I'm supposed to run it on 1. Jeez, I can never remember this. Yeah. So we're going to run it on dev sda1, right, of course. So partition, you want to pick the particular partition, and we can see we have dev sda1 here. So mkfs.ext4/dev/sda1. Again, it might differ for your system. Maybe it's sdb1, sdc, but this is what we're going to roll with here. So we'll run that. And you're going to see it's creating the blocks, running the super blocks, and done. Should be a relatively quick process. And then once we've got that, if we run lsblk, we can just verify we got SDA1 partition, but we don't really know if it's particularly working with MKFS yet, because we need to actually mount it. And for this, we're going to run the following command. We're going to run mount/dev SDA1 to /mnt, which is the mount point. So you can think of mount/mnt is actually going to be the root directory of our proper Arch install. So when we actually get everything fully installed, you're going to see everything under mount is going to be basically our whole Arch file system and all the things we need to run Arch Linux. And we can verify this has worked properly with lsblk. We can see now /mount shows up on the mount points for the partitions. Now, before we get to the next step with installing what we actually need for Arch, there is one thing that I want to do before that, and that's use a program called Reflector. So this is going to be your first introduction to Pacman, which is the package manager for Arch. I think it's like apt on Ubuntu or Yum on Fedora-based systems. Pacman is very easy to use. It's pretty straightforward. So we're going to run this command to start it off. We're going to do pacman tac capital S lowercase y, and that's it. Also, if you're confused, like, what do you mean by tac? I've gotten the habit of just saying tac for anything that's used as an option. So when I say tac, that means we're doing an option. Dash is probably going to be in the middle of something. And all that pacman tac sy is doing is just updating our database. You can think of it like apps, just sudo apt update. That's pretty much all we're doing. And then we're going to actually install something real quick. We're going to do pacman tac s reflector. So reflector. I'll throw that in chat because this is a pretty important tool and it's very, very helpful. It should hopefully help your download process. Pacman tac s reflector. So the reason that we do this, let's see, pacman.d. You guys don't necessarily have to do this. So you can see here that we've got a list of Arch Linux mirrors. And I've got some mirrors that are from a lot of places all over the world. We can see we've got some in Europe, some in Germany, it seems, things like that. Which for me, like, I don't mind that, but I'd rather get something closer to home because it's probably got a better chance of it being a little bit quicker of an install process. So that's what we're gonna do with Reflector. So let me get this reflector command up and running here. And actually, if I run reflector, we're gonna see. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Reflector. Pull this up, get some examples really quick. So, reflector. I didn't actually properly explain it, but basically what reflector does is it will find the best package mirrors, which are basically places that host the Arch repositories that you can download all of your applications from. And Reflector will basically, with certain options applied, you can find the best, fastest, or whatever you want repositories that are available to you. Best mirrors, sorry, that are available to you. So I'm going to set one up right now. We're going to run the following command. So we're going to reflector tac country. And for me, I'm based in the US. I'm going to do in single quotes United States, comma, Canada. Now, for you people over in Europe, I recommend that you obviously don't do this. Pick something that's closer to you. I can't remember what the specific codes are for a place like the UK. I would assume it's probably United Kingdom spelled out. But pretty much just put in the country name and you'll be able to get that. So that's the first option that we're going to use. We are also going to use, I like to use TacTac latest. Whoops, I need a space there. TacTac latest, and I'll do, let's do 10 here. So this one looks for the most recently synced mirrors, so you can get some of the ones that are more up to date. And that's just good because it shows that they're relatively well maintained. I also like to use TacTac protocol HTTPS. Just would prefer to use HTTPS instead of HTTP. You don't have to do this, but this is what I do. And then one of the most important parts, I think, is TacTac sort, which is rate. So this will sort your mirror list by whichever one is the fastest. So the fastest will be first, the slowest will be last. Of course, we want fast download speeds. So here we're going to do, at the end, we're going to do TacTac save to /etc/pacman.d/mirrorlist. So again, the whole command, reflector TacTac country, United States, comma Canada for people in NA. If you're in EU or elsewhere in the world, do something else. TacTac latest 10, TacTac protocol HTTPS, TacTac sort rate, TacTac save /etc/pacman.d/mirrorlist. And we're going to go ahead and run that. Again, if anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to let me know. Oh, did I mess up my quotes? No. Let's make sure I did that right. Let's see, Pacman D mirror list. We should see. Perfect. Yep. So we can see that my reflector ran just fine. We can see, and the actual nice thing with reflector is if maybe you want to upgrade your mirrors or update your mirrors rather at some point, you can actually see the last command that, or the command that your current mirror list was ran with for reflector. So we see we've got reflector, TacTac country, all that stuff. It was really nice. And you can see when it's last ran, reflector's got a lot of great stuff. So now that that's good, we're actually going to install Arch Linux with the pacstrap command. So we're going to run pacstrap /mnt, which is our target. We're going to do base Linux firmware. And then we're also going to do base devil. And I would recommend you also put in a text editor here, which I'm going to put in Vim. I like using Vim. If you want to use Nano, that's also fine. You can use that as well. So just for point of reference, base Linux and Linux firmware, if you're looking in the install guide, you see that in there. You kind of have to have those installed. Base devil, is the development version of base. So it has a bit more tools for if you want to develop with Linux. And I only download this because there are some packages sometimes that I want to use where it's like you need the base devil repository installed. So it's much easier just to get it done now. Vim, because you are going to need to do some text editing in a little bit. So I recommend you have that installed. And I think that's going to be just fine for right now. So let's go with this. We're going to run this command, and it's going to start installing. And this will take a little bit because there is a decent amount of things that it needs to install. But nothing too crazy so far. Anyone have any questions? Anyone behind stuck on something that they need help with? I'll take that as a no. So you can see installing all of the things that we need. Do, do, do. All right, cool. We're done. Not bad. So we've got everything installed, and actually, if you ran an ls on mounts right now, this is going to look very similar to a Linux system if you've worked with one before. Home, boot, etc, bin, mounts, proc, run, root, temp, var, all of that stuff is there because this is our whole arch system. We've got it installed. So now, before we move over to the system, and we'll see how we do that in a second, we are going to make our Fstab, which if you're not familiar with Linux, it's just a file that pretty much tells the system where drives are at and what should be mounted and what should be done on startup, things like that with those particular drives. Not the best technical explanation, but it works. So we're going to gen fstab for tac capital U mount, and then with the double greater than sign, we're going to do slash mount etc fstab. Again, this command is also in the Arch Linux install guide, so we'll run that. And actually, if we want to just double check, we can cat mount etc fstab, and you can see that we've got an output there with our UID slash. That all looks correct. I'm fine with that. And now we're going to move into our system with the next command on the installer guide, which is just to change root. So the arch-chroot /mnt. And you should see your prompt change from the red and gray arch to the fully gray root at arch ISO. And will now be in that directory that was in it originally /mnt. So next step is to set our time zone. So we're going to do ln tac sf /usr share zone info. And then this is where it's going to differ depending on what region you're in. I'm in the Americas, so I'm going to do America. And since I'm in the Eastern time zone, I'm just going to run New York. And then we will output that to etc local time. So ln tac sf user share zone info, whatever your time zone, space /etc local time. That command pretty simple to run. Next, we are going to sync our hardware clock with our system. So we'll do hw clock tac sys to hc. So we're syncing our system to the hardware clock. Run that. Pretty easy. Now, this is where our text editor is going to come in handy. We're going to want to edit the file /etc locale-gen. So use Vim or Nano, whatever you're comfortable with. We'll do, oh, is mine not, where is my locale gen? Oh, wait, locale.gen. My apologies, locale.gen. There we go. So then you've got this, and all you have to do is go find and uncomment whatever locale you're in. So for me, I'm just going to go find en_us UTF-8. That's the one I want. I'll uncomment that and then just save. And then all you're going to run from there is locale-gen. And you should see it says generating locales, and you should see whatever option you uncommented show up there. So I've got enus.utf-8. And then from there, we also have to add this little piece of info in one more spot. We're going to edit /etc locale.conf. And then we're going to edit this by adding lang in all caps equals, and then just whatever locale you selected. So mine, again, en_us dot utf dash 8. There we go. So got that. Should be good from there. Now, the next thing that we are going to want to do is to edit our hostname. So we are going to edit /etc hostname. And then this is what you give your computer's name. I'm just going to call this ROH for the sake of this presentation. And we'll go ahead and save that. And then we're also going to want to edit /etc hosts. And here we're just going to add in information like the following. We need to set our local host for 127.0.0.1 IP. Just do that, hit tab, and then localhost. Then for IPv6 : 1, tab twice, localhost, make it look nice and pretty. And then 127.0.1.1 is going to be your host name. So mine's ROH. And then whatever your local domain is. My local domain is, we'll just call it, let's call it vertbox.local just for lulz. And then we put our actual host name after. But this can obviously be whatever your local network is. If you don't have one, you can just put local domain or whatever the heck you feel like there. So we'll right quit that, and we're good to go. All right, how's everyone doing? Up speed? Everyone good?
Yeah, good to go.
All right, cool. Everyone else, I'm going to assume take silence as good answer. So real quick, I do want to show this pacman.d mirror list. You can see that we've got our mirror list that we actually ran in the previous step still here, even though it's on technically a quote-unquote different system. And there's one thing I do want to install really quick. Otherwise, we are kind of SOL. We are going to install something called Network Manager. So Pacman TAC capital S Network Manager with a capital N and capital M. Shoot, maybe it's a lowercase in this case. That's what it is. Okay. You'll see where the capital comes in. It shows up later. But we're going to want to install this because this is going to make sure we can actually connect to the internet once we reboot. And like I said, with the issue that I had last time, we forgot to do this, and it was a pain in the butt trying to figure out how exactly we're supposed to fix this. So we've got Network Manager installed, and what we also want to do actually is do system ctl enable network manager. This is where the capitals come in. So we're going to do that. I'll throw that in chat as well. If you're not familiar with Linux, this is working with a service. So these are kind of the things that will start automatically in the background, especially when the system boots up. And enable is what you need to set in order for that service to start on boot. So we're going to enable that. Manager, here's the command again, just in case. So that now when we boot up, Network Manager is going to automatically boot with our system boot. Now, what else do we need to do? We need to add a user. We should make our own user account. So let's make our own user. There's two options that you can use for this command. If I remember correctly, is user add the one, or it's add user? Oh, we don't have add user. Dang. All right, we're gonna do user add. So add user, that's kind of confusing. There's user add and add user. User add is a manual command where you have to define a couple parameters in order for it to work properly. Add user is an actual script that it will go through and like ask you questions like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? So we are going to do the following. Once I pull up the command, because I forgot to add this to do this beforehand, and I really should have pulled it up, but I didn't. Right. So I think all we need to do is, yeah. So we're going to do user add tac lowercase m, and then we're also going to do what was the other one? Where is the what was the option for the shell? That's right. Tac s/bin/bash, and then you're gonna put whatever name. So I'm just gonna do Sam. Run that. And if you look, if we ls our home directory, you should see that you have your home directory added. If we do cat etc password to see who's there, we can see that we got Sam, what directory /home/Sam, and then /bin bash is our shell. So that will be good for when we log in. Two other things that you need to do really quick is we want to add this person, or sorry, we want to set the password first. So we're going to do password Sam. I will set it to the super secure password. That is definitely not the exact same as my username, but we're in a VM, so it doesn't really matter. So we've got that set up. Set your password. And then the other thing that we're going to want to do, I need to cat etc sudoers to make sure. Yeah, so we have the wheel group. All right, so then we're going to do this. We're going to vim/etc sudoers, which is our sudoers file. And what we want to do here is go down towards the bottom. And we want to uncomment this %wheel option right here. Oh wait, is this only a read-only? Yeah, shoot, I screwed up. I need to do this. I need to run visudo. There we go. So you need to run visudo. visudo. I'm gonna throw this in because it's not actually in the install guide. Visudo/etc sudoers. There we go. Got to run that, and you should be able to edit your sudoers file. And we want to uncomment this first wheel one, not the second one, the first one. Second one will not prompt you for a password. We want this one. So we'll do that. Right, quit, and then we're gonna do user mod tac lowercase a capital G wheel, and then the name of your user. So I'll do Sam. So now I have added my user to the wheel group, and we can see here that this %wheel above signifies that that wheel group is able to use sudo on any command. So lets us run everything as root. Pretty nice. Now there is one more thing that we want to install before we get done with this, and that is a bootloader. And I'm just going to use the classic one that most people are probably familiar with, and that is Grub. So we're going to install some Pac-Man stuff one more time. We are going to do Pac-Man tac s, and it should just be Grub, I think. Let me double check, make sure I don't have it right. Where is the installation?
That let me install something.
Yep, it is Grub. I couldn't remember because it's technically Grub 2, I believe. So I was like, I don't know if it's, can't remember if it's Grub or Grub 2. Okay, and then we are going to actually run the Grub install command for Arch. And it's going to be the following. I'll pull up my notes real quick. Where's it at? Where's it at? Yep, here it is. So we're going to do grub-install. And I think, actually, we should just be able to run just this and not really have... Oh, no, sorry. /dev SDA. And we want to just define the actual block device. So not SDA1 or SDB1 or whatever, the specific block device. So dev SDA. So we'll do grub install. and Grub will automatically detect some things. There's some options you can run in other situations. If you want to define, for example, if you're doing this with UEFI, if you have a UEFI BIOS, you're gonna need to define particular details about EFI. But in this case, we don't really have to worry about. You can see installation finished, no errors reported. And then I think there is one more thing we want to do, if I remember correctly. Gotta go back to my notes. Where was it? 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 It is. Yep. So we want to do grub-mkconfig/o/boot grub.cfg. I'll also paste this in the chat. Let's make our little boot image, or our boot config rather. All right. So we got all the base stuff done with Arch. Everything is now installed that we need. But when we reboot the system, we are going to just get dropped into a command line again. And that's boring. We don't really want to do that. So we want to install a desktop environment. Now, the nice thing is, desktop environment, you can pretty much pick whatever the hell you want. If you want to use KDE, if you want to use Mate, if you want to use XFCE, if you want to use Gnome, if you want to use, I think Pantheon. There's a multi-platform version of that. Someone's probably made it. Anyway, you can pick whatever the heck you want. For this case, we're just gonna use Gnome because I used Gnome and I've tested it before, so I don't have to troubleshoot. If I have to troubleshoot anything, I should be able to figure it out. So we're gonna run this command real quick. We're gonna do pacman tac capital S. We're gonna do gnome, and then we also want to install, I believe, yeah. So there we go. I think we just need gnome. So there's a lot of stuff that we're installing with Gnome, and okay, perfect. That's in the list. Gnome is probably weird choice for Arch users because it's almost antithetical to what Arch stands for, where it's kind of like you want to do a lighter system, but Gnome is pretty heavy. But I don't care; it works, and that's all I am really worried about at the moment. So we're just gonna accept all the defaults and be fine with it. Now, again, I usually just take all the defaults. If you know something specific for your system that you need to change, you can make those changes. Actually, yes, I do want the No2 fonts. I do like the No2 fonts. So we'll just accept all this and start installing it. So there'll be a lot of things. 551 packages, not a light option by any stretch of the imagination. And it depends on the whichever desktop environment that you're installing based on how big or small it's going to be. I believe KDE, I've had a pretty decent experience with it because you can install what's called Plasma Dash Desktop, which is literally just enough to get you a desktop and nothing more. Like, it doesn't come with the file explorer or anything like that. It is pretty much nothing. So if you want to go really lightweight, that's an easy option to go to. But for the sake of this, just to get you guys up and running with everything, and because I'm familiar with it, we're going to go with Gnome. The one annoying thing about Gnome is that it comes with GDM, which is kind of like that desktop lock screen, and that's the only one that Gnome will work with if you want to lock your system. So, like, if you pressed Super L, like the normal lock key, you had something other than GDM install, it won't lock. You have to have GDM installed for Gnome. But if you're on other systems, a lot of them you can change it to something like LightDM, or I'm trying to think of the other ones. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I only know LightDM because I use it quite often. So you get a little more choice with that. But again, GDM's well integrated. We don't have to do any additional setup, which with those other kind of lock screen things, you would have to make a few changes to configuration files. So we're just going to leave it with this for now. So we should get Gnome up and running once this is installed. And one of the nice things about Arch, I forget if I mentioned this before, but you can actually just install multiple desktop environments, assuming you have the space, and that's totally fine. And you can just try them out. And then if you don't like some of them, just delete them off your system and don't use them. And just test out. I've definitely had situations where I've had like Gnome and KDE and XFCE all install at the same time because I just want to try them out and see which one I liked better. So it's really versatile in that sense, and there's a lot of the lockers like LightDM and GDM have options where you can pick which operating system or which desktop environment you want to boot into, rather. So so yeah, looks like my GNOME is done installing. And the last thing I want to do is you'll remember that network manager command we ran. We want to run system ctl enable gdm. So create the symlink there, and this is basically to make sure that, as with network manager, that GDM starts on boot. So the next time that we boot the system up, we will actually get the lock screen instead of a terminal, and then we can pick to go into our GNOME session. All right, this is a pretty big point. I want to pause here. Uh, Everyone, let me know if you are good. Well, actually, I will say if anyone has any questions at this point, or if anyone's stuck on anything, let me know. If you're good to go, just you can stay on mute. I'll take the silence as a yes, we're good to go. All right, no questions. Sick. So this should work. Keyword should. We're just gonna run reboot here. Actually, I'm going to do shutdown dash now instead. We're just going to shut the system down. I forgot. Shutdown now, I think is it. Oh, I got to exit the true. So first, exit, then shut down now, and it will shut down, and we'll close this system out. That's fine. I only want to do this because now I want to go into my storage. This and we want to click remove disk from virtual drive. So you should now have an empty IDE, the little disk symbol controller. That should be completely empty. You got your VDIDS, the only one that's attached. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. This should boot up just fine. This is a good sign. We've got Grub. We can pick Arch Linux. We're going to go pick that. And in just a minute, we should be given GDM. Hey, look at that. So we've got GDM. We've got our user prompt here. So we got my guy. I'm just going to type in Sam. Ooh, this is slow. I should maybe give this more resources. And we'll run that. And give it a minute, but there we go. We are in GNOME. Yes, I know it looks like absolute crap because I am zoomed the hell in. But we're going to fix that. I'm going to go to Control C, and I think we should be able to go into settings. First of all, good thing to note, we have internet. We have a connection, which is good. But I do want to change my display size. So let's go to displays. Let's put this at 1920 by 1080. Let's make it a little bit bigger than that. 1920 1440. We'll do that for now until we can get it resized. Oh shoot, it's gonna make me scroll bar. Never mind. We'll do 1920 1200. We'll leave it at that. Cool. Hopefully you guys can still see that all right. By 200% scale, how bad does that look? It looks pretty bad, but we'll do it just so you guys can see relatively well. You can leave it at the 100% scaling. But yeah, we're now into the system. We're in Arch. This is nice. And we've got all of our stuff that we need, that we should need initially in here. So we've got a terminal. It's going to look really bad because it's white, but let's change that to a darker color because nobody likes light mode. If you like light mode, I'm sorry, I'm questioning you right now. Light mode is whack. I gotta remind myself where it is. It's been so long since I've set these things up. There should be a theme. Can I search theme or dark light? God, I forget. Where is it? 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 Nope, 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 nope. Did I put it in the... No. Maybe I do have to just go into... Yeah, let's just go into here and... So what we can actually do here in the terminal, we'll go to Preferences. Let's do theme variant dark. If we just enable that, boom. Now I have a dark theme terminal. Hooray. Awesome. That's good. Assuming everyone got into the system okay. If you didn't, just let me know. We'll get it sorted. But let's install a couple other things just for lulz. Let's go install Firefox. I'm gonna do that real quick just because I'd rather use Firefox. So we'll do Firefox. Oh, right. I'm gonna need to provide sudo privileges. So sudo pacman, and we're gonna go get this. Let's do. I actually, since it's gonna ask for fonts, I prefer no2 fonts, so I'm gonna get no2 fonts. We'll install this. Because we are going to need to go to the internet real quick to get something installed. Because I think it's a very cool part of Arch. All right, so we've got that. Let's go grab a Firefox. Boot that boy up. Hooray. Hooray. So what we're going to go grab here is actually this little GitHub package, which I'll paste in chat, called Paru. And you might be like, well, why do I need this random GitHub thing? I don't want it. First of all, I'm going to need to install actually a few things I want to do first. Let's pull up.
The VM tool so we can paste into the VM.
Yes, that is just what I remembered when I realized I could not paste. So we're going to get that first. So for VMware people, salute and F in chat. Get that figured out. I don't remember. Might need to reference whoever's using VMware here. But for people who are on VirtualBox, you're just going to click this Insert Guest Additions. And we should, the keyword should, be able to install no problem once it's inserted. Let me make sure that this shows up. Files, we'll pull up the File Explorer. Other locations. I don't want my network stuff. Okay, didn't insert it for some reason. Let's use this one. Optical drives, VMware 1. Attach that. Urgh! I hate it when it does this. All right, I'm gonna have to just reboot this real quick. No problem. We actually know the system works, so I don't mind. Power this off. Actually, wait a minute. Can't I just... Yeah, never mind. What am I kidding? This is Arch. I can just do this. Oh, my resolution has changed again. Tragic. So, nice thing about Arch is we've got these repositories that we can install from pretty easily. So we're actually just going to do sudo pacman -s virtualbox guest utils. And we will install that. This is totally fine. And we've got that, and I believe matching version, this looks right. I believe I am running the same version. general. That's not going to be helpful. Where's my version info? Anywho, this should be good. So we're going to go real quick and actually I can just check for updates, make sure I'm on the newest version because I'm on Arch, so it should be fine. Uh, that's fine. All right, should be able to reboot. I'll do it through here. We'll reset here. And I believe now we're going to be able to share a clipboard and all that good stuff. Fingers crossed. Folders. Nah, we don't need to worry about that.
I got mine to kind of work, but it's not doing the scaling.
Oh, well, at least you have clipboard copy paste.
I have clipboard working.
Hey, we take those.
But I guess I'll probably
Let's
have to try to install the official tools, which is actually much harder to do.
yeah.
I just installed OpenVM tools, which it's letting me copy paste. So
Okay, cool. Is mine gonna let me copy paste? Let's see if this works. Firefox. You gonna let me paste? I also need to get my it's probably not. Ugh. Oh, hey, look at that. Well, I'm having the same thing. I can copy paste, but it also do I want to put it in scaled mode? Auto resize guest display should be on. So yeah, whatever, it's fine. We have copy paste, so we'll take that for now. So we've got copy paste. Yeah, sure, whatever. And we have access to Paru. Real quick before we do that, I do want to install one more thing on the terminal, which is git, because we're going to need to clone this down. So we're going to do sudo pacman tac s git, because we don't have that. Arch is very bare bones, so we have very few packages, but we can get git, so we can use that. So let's talk a bit about Paru, because Paru is really cool. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Paru gives us access to something called the AUR, which is the Arch User Repository, if I remember correctly. And what this is basically if Arch doesn't have whatever you're looking for in the official repositories, the AUR probably has it because it's it sources from community contributions. So for example, Arch's main repositories does not have a version of the official Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It has the open source version of it just called Code, but it does not have VS Code. Someone put VS Code in the Arch user repository, so now you can download the official Microsoft version if that's the one that you want to use. There's tons of other things that the AUR has, and I really like it because it makes it a lot simpler from the standpoint of, versus Ubuntu, you might have to add a bunch of different PPAs to your sources list so you can actually download these applications or tools that aren't available in Ubuntu natively. But with the AUR, it's just one location. You can get all your stuff from there. And also, you can avoid having to try to compile things yourself from GitHub because a lot of people will put things that require compilation from Git into the AUR so it will handle everything for you. Unfortunately, Pacman doesn't get to the AUR by default, so we have to use an AUR helper. So we use Paru for this. It is kind of based on a predecessor called Yay, which was a very popular AUR helper, but it's not being maintained as much anymore. This guy actually helped on the Yay guy or girl, I actually don't know. They helped on this project and on the Yay project, and then since it wasn't being maintained, they decided to make their own thing, which is Paru. So to get this, we're going to go into code. We're going to copy that Git address. Then we're going to go back to our terminal, which mine is in this other workspace. And we are going to just go git clone and paste that in, or on Paru. And we've got that. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. So used to that. And then we'll just follow the steps on the site, which, as you can see here, this is an example of where base devil comes in clutch, because it actually says it's part of the steps to get base devil. Oh shoot, I lied. Don't clone it from there. Actually, clone it from the installation instructions. We had this issue last time, and I just now remembering that. So I'm gonna actually rf paru here. We're gonna cd to documents actually. I'm gonna paste this command in. So follow the paru instructions and clone it from the AUR location paru.get. So we'll grab that. We'll go back and check the next step, which is changing into the directory and then make pkg tac si. So we'll just copy and paste that. So we'll cd into paru, and then we're going to run this. And we'll just leave it with Rust. It is written in Rust. Haha, I know. Meme languages strike again. Well, I mean, it's not a meme language, but the language, it has become a meme. So we'll install Rust, and then we will build Paru. This is actually another reason why we had to create our own user. Paru can't be run as root. It uses a kind of fake root system. I don't know enough about it to really explain what it is. But basically, if you try to run Paru as root, it won't let you. Which is nice, because also you don't have to remember to run it with sudo, and when it does need a password prompt for specific root privileges, it'll ask you when while it's trying to install stuff. So you can run Paru just on its own. Now you might be thinking, Sam, it's so annoying. I have to use Pacman and Paru. Why do I just have to use two separate package managers? Fun fact, you don't, because Paru works on the normal Arch repositories. So if you did paru tac s or paru tac s gnome, that would work. That would actually install gnome from the normal repositories. And as you realize in that example, paru tac s is the same as pacman tac s. Paru has, to my knowledge, almost identical, if not completely identical, command options as Pacman. So if you know some of the commands from Pacman, you could probably run the same commands in Paru. It's probably not an issue. So Paru is very useful in that sense. And you can very much, if you've committed to Pacman or committed to Paru, you can make an alias for one of the others. So you can have Pacman equal Paru, Paru equal Pacman, whatever it is you want to do. Either is fine. So we'll start compiling this. This can take a little bit, especially the last one, because we'll be compiling Paru. But yeah. So we are almost there. Because once we get this, I think is just helpful, especially for installing some of those packages that aren't in the normal AUR. And then after this, we will get to the fun security stuff where we get to install BlackArch and have a crap ton of packages available to us. And luckily, the BlackArch team makes it very easy.
Yeah, they have a 15 gigabyte ISO file.
Yes, that is the thing. So the reason why I like doing it this way over doing it through BlackArch is because I've installed BlackArch, but I can only imagine that it comes with everything preloaded. So if you want to just have everything right off the bat, then yeah, you could probably just download BlackArch ISO and it's fine. But when you do it through this method, you can download the tools that you need, and then if you need some later, you have almost 2,800 packages to choose from. It's probably in there. And if not, it might even be in the AUR or the main Arch repository. So I like this approach, and especially if you've done, a little bit of CTFs, pen testing beforehand, you probably have your core set of tools that you always use, and there's a bunch that you know you're not going to touch. So you can pull, you can basically pull down your specific tool set, the only ones that you need, and if you need to get new ones, you can go and grab them. If you don't need them, then cool, you don't have to have a humongous operating system. Like, well, actually, after this, we'll go check to see how much space we've actually taken up on the drive. I mean, I'm sure Gnome accounts for a decent amount of that space because Gnome is pretty big. So if you chose a better desktop environment than Gnome, like, you have options. But
You
Yeah.
didn't really give enough time to find the install steps for a different one.
Yeah, I wanted to just go through just with a particular example. If you guys, of course, if you guys have questions about installing another one, um, you can totally ask. I'll be down to help. And
Okay.
most of them are available on the Arch Linux wiki, and the installation instructions are generally pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I looked up the KDE one, but I didn't do it because I didn't have enough time to do it because you just started the install and I'm like,
Yeah.
this requires like 5 extra commands or
It
something like
does,
that.
exactly. And that's why I wanted to go to Gnome, just to keep everyone on the same page. Just so we can all kind of go through it together. And after you can mess around with it. Because, like I said, you can absolutely go and install KDE after the fact, and that's fine. It'll work. You'll have access to it, which is really nice. Again, one of the great things about Arch. So, we're going to install Paru here. That's fine. And now we have Paru installed. Hooray! So, for example, if I actually do ParuTech SYU, we'll see that we'll start upgrading things. And now you can see looking for AUR upgrades, looking for Devil upgrades, things like that. So for example, if I want to do Pyrotech S, what is it called? So usually you could find things through just like tab complete and things like that. But also this Visual Studio has a weird name. That's what it is. Visual Studio dash code dash bin. It's got bin at the end. But if you're ever wondering, like, what's this package name in Arch, if you Google this package and add Arch Linux after it, you'll probably find the link to either the normal Arch repository or the AUR. And I want to show this as well because you'll see this prompt popped up and it seems like it's not doing anything. Well, it's just listing some information about the PKG build, and you can either step through all of this and get to the end, or you can just press Q at the start and it'll ask to proceed with install, and you just press Y and it'll run it. There's some dependencies it needs to install. We'll also run that, and it'll install all of our stuff. So we'll extract code, all of those kinds of things. And this can be great, especially if you, I know this is going to be like, oh my gosh, why would you do this? You're on Linux. Install proprietary software. You can get a lot of it on the AUR because people have uploaded it. And sometimes it's necessary to use. So we can see we're building it. And we have installed it. So now if I look at Visual Studio, we can see we got VS Code. And if I run it, come on. Wouldn't necessarily recommend a VM, but you can see we are in VS Code. We got it downloaded, and this is the proper Microsoft version. So yeah, that's Paru. All right, let's get to some hacking stuff. Let's get to Black Arch. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to run this command, which actually we might need to install curl beforehand. I don't think we have it. We already have it. Never mind. We do have curl. So we can actually just go, I'm going to cd actually back to documents. And we're just going to paste this in and curl down our strap.sh file. And then we're going to need to run chmod +x strap.sh. So we can execute it. And then I believe, yeah, we're going to run this as root sudo./strap.sh. We're going to run that. So it's going to install this Black Arch keyring. And it's going to synchronize the repositories. And we see we've got Black Arch here. And you can see Black Arch Linux is ready. So we got a pen testing system. Now, I believe we probably want to do this. Yeah, because there's one more Black Arch keyring that for some reason just isn't installed. So I just run a quick update after that. And we'll install that. And we should be good to go. So again, just use it with that curl command I pasted, chmod, run it with sudo, and then run a quick update to get that last keyring installed. And you should be good to go. And you're like, all right, well, how do I see this? Well, here's a quick command that you can run to show the different groups that are actually within Black Arch, because Black Arch does split its stuff up into groups, which is actually really nice. So this is Pac-Man. We can search by group. And we're actually going to do Paru in this case. we do PowerTech SG, and you can see all of the different black arch groups that we have in here. So we've got web app, fuzzer, scanner, proxy, Windows, DOS, disassembler, cracker, networking, binary, reversing, honeypot, hardware, firmware, Bluetooth, all of these different groups. And if you want to see what's in a particular group, you can also run a command like this. So we'll paste this in the chat as well. So that command there, and then just replace group with whatever you want. So if I do paru tech sgg, again, pacman or paru, either or works. You can do paru grep. Let's do black arch dash. Let's see what's in the fuzzer section. And now you can see all of the different tools that are included in the fuzzer section. So there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff here. So all we're gonna do, I think,
I'm
yep.
guessing you could install everything in a single group if you wanted to.
I mean, yeah, if I believe, let me double check. This should be it. If you do PowerTech S Black Arch, yeah. As you can see, we have 2,710 packages. That's a lot. We don't want to install that. So if you do really want to install all of it, you definitely can. But I'd not recommend it. Unless you have the system space for it and you're really just like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that.
So, for whatever reason, I'm trying to run the strap.sh, and it says you do not have internet connection. I downloaded Paru, and then 2 packages from Paru, and it says I don't have internet.
All right, let's see here. Let's take a look at what is Strap. Does Strap have an internet check? It might. Let's see here. So it says you don't have an internet connection. That's like the error.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just stopped and started the internet service. I'm gonna see if that works.
All right. Classic. Turn it on and off.
It worked.
Classic. All right. Cool. Well, glad you got it working. Yeah. So now we got pretty much everything. So if I do PowerTech S, what do I want to install here? Let's what's something that only Black Arch might have? So I can do PowerTech S, like Zap Proxy. Z Attack Proxy. Yeah, sure, let's install this. That's fine. This is alright, I'm cool with this. So we'll download Zap. Shout out to OWASP. Install things like that. And if we wanted to, we could actually install entire groups. So if I know for a fact that I'm going to use a ton of let's say I'm going to do a ton of disassembling, I could actually do PowerTech S, Black Arch, what was it? Disassembler. I do PowerTech S disassembler, and I can install all the disassembler tools that come in that Power group, which is really nice. So if you know I use these particular categories, I'm gonna just download everything in them. Cool. You can be very tailored. I want this particular package, all that, or we can just download the whole damn thing.
This is a much better way than the whole Kali meta packages thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really use Kali that much, honestly. I use Parrot, and I still even use Parrot. But I've been debating switching and using more of a Black Arch style distribution. I just also like the fact that Parrot is designed for virtual machines and stuff. And part of the point of this presentation was not only just for the hacking side, but also like using Arch as a main machine, because that's what I use on my main machine, and I absolutely love it. I've never had an issue with it. And there have definitely been times where having the most up-to-date software comes in very clutch. For example, I'm an amateur photographer, do stuff like that sometimes. Having my photo editing software up to date as possible is super duper important, because new camera comes out or a new improvement to how the program handles The encoding technology used by different camera manufacturers can make a big difference in whether how the image looks or even whether it's possible to edit in that software. So there's definitely benefits to having that rolling release option. But yeah, that's pretty much Arch in the install process. Do people have questions? Do they want to go back over something? Shadow, we can do the KDE thing if you want. Roll with that.
Sure, if you want to.
All right, let's do
I could
this.
probably figure it out though.
I mean, now, well, I actually want to do it myself because I remember. Paru. It should just be. So I
Well, it
like using.
requires a user. I was looking at the thing before. It requires a user account, I believe.
We do have a user account though. We
No,
may.
a
Oh,
specific user account, I think.
let's see. I
If
don't
I
remember having to do that.
if I was looking at the right thing anyway.
So I think actually in this case, the way we set it up, I think all I need to do is install Plasma Desktop. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do the GTK thing. So as you see, Plasma Desktop, a lot less stuff we're installing here. Only 130 packages compared to 500 and some, but we also get 0 default stuff like console, none of the terminal stuff, none of that comes with it. So let's see. Okay. Come on, come on. So another reason we use Network Manager is there's a lot of compatibility, like Plasma NM, the Network Manager applet comes with it, which is really nice. So I think actually, I think we're good. I think we can actually just log out. And I'm trying to remember if let's see. Or is GDM not like it? GDM might not like it. GDM might not like it.
No, go to the place where you can enter your password. Bottom right hand
Oh,
corner.
right. You are correct. So yeah, we can actually see we've got Plasma right here.
Which of course is going to be back to being tiny.
Yup. Until I change the resolution. Yeah, I don't know why the guess util's not letting me scale everything up. Come on, Plasma, you can do your thing. But I'm not gonna waste everyone's time trying to sort that out, at least on the video. Maybe after the video I'll figure it out. But great thing is, Arch has tons of forums, Reddit, stuff like that. You can usually ask a question, why won't this work? Someone's probably had that issue before, and they could probably figure it out. So yeah, we're in KDE now. Sick. Now, of course, we have literally 0 applications. But we have stuff like the Ubuntu terminal in KDE. Sacrilege. Yeah, we got everything we could really need, I guess. Files. It's Gnome, but whatever, it still works. So, yeah. KDE installed. Woo. Pretty easy process. Alright. Anybody got any other questions? Anything they're wondering about as far as Arch? Maybe even beyond if you're looking to do like on your main system, some other things. Actually, I will say, oh shoot, I forgot to change the session again. I will say, if you do want to use this on your desktop as your main system and you're using Gnome, because that's what I use, I highly recommend that you install the Pop! OS shell for Gnome. This is a really awesome, um, uh, extension, I guess, to the shell uh, that was developed by System 76, the guys who made Pop! OS, and it's really awesome. Like, it has tiling built into it, so you can have like almost a tiling window manager, but you actually have a full desktop environment, which is super sick. So I use that all the time. And the wonderful thing about it is normally you have to install it from GitHub, but AUR to the rescue, because you can actually just do paru tac-s gnome shell extension pop shell, and you can install that thing. There it is, Pop! OS shell. And actually, you can see here, just prompt me for my password because it does need your privileges at this point. Oh, my bad. There we go. So, yeah, the AUR showing its awesomeness again. We can go grab that package without having to build it from GitHub, and then we can get the Pop! OS shell, which you can kind of see on my main system here. Actually, if I go here on this GitHub page, you can see I've got these gaps a little bit, and if I press, I have Command F, you see we got the gaps, automatic tiling, we got split screen. I can add more, keep going, keep circling down until it gets too crazy. But yeah, that's mostly what I use it for, but there's other uses, and you can switch it back to floating mode if you feel like it. So really cool stuff. There's lots of little things like that you can add in Arch. But again, that's probably not as useful in the virtual environment because the keybinds can be a little weird, and I haven't messed with that before. But if you want to do this on your main system, they can be really helpful. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns about the whole process? All right, cool. Well, if you're watching the recording, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys stopping by. This is definitely not the definitive guide to Arch and all things detail, but it should give you a start just to mess around with it and hopefully show you that, it's really not that scary as long as you know what you're doing. Uh, you're able to get through the install process pretty easily. So, hope you enjoyed the video and be sure to check out Republic of Hackers. Bye, y'all.